Hello.
Welcome everyone to another session of the Entrepreneur Empowerment Series, episode number 10. Today's session is going to be about how to use your data to grow your business. Thanks for everyone joining us. My name is Shadi Banna. I'm going to be your host today. And we have with us Dr. Amjad, who's just joined. Welcome, Dr. Amjad. And we have with us Ziyad and Umayma, and Daria and Rose, about a full house today who will be going through different aspects of the topic of data. And it's going to be hopefully very interesting. We're streaming live on LinkedIn and on YouTube. It's our first time on LinkedIn. So welcome to all those joining us live there. And thanks for everyone else that has joined us on the webinar and are watching the stream on YouTube. So we're going to go through different sessions, as you can see in today's agenda. But let me kick it off with a few questions. Get you thinking and with us. So what do you think these two represent? So first of all, what's the logo? Whose logo is this? For those attending with us live on the webinar, you can respond on chat. And anyone who's watching the live streams, you could respond anywhere else. So Noura quickly said Facebook. Correct, Noura. Good job. So what is the number? 84 billion. What does that represent? Correct, William as well says that. Noura's saying users. Not quite. They have, it's not 84 billion is for something else. What else could it be? Noura says data. Something along those lines. Data is the enabler of it. So William's saying value. Yeah, close. So 84 billion is the amount of money, 84 billion US dollars, that Facebook made last year from advertising. And what enabled that 84 billion is actually data. Unfortunately, our data. So we're not all happy with that, but what can we do? This is how the world is going. And Facebook is doing a wonderful job of monetizing the huge data that they have about us. And as we can see here in this example, $84 billion worth of advertising revenue was made because of that. So let's move to another company. Let me know, who do you think this company is? And what is the number associated with that company? So that was a quick one. Tesla, everyone's responding. Tesla, yeah, correct. So Tesla, and what is that number? 600 billion. Can anyone guess? Now you got the idea. It has something to do with money. $600 billion of market capitalization. So this is the value of Tesla, $600 billion. And imagine that this value is actually more than the top 9 car companies out there. So General Motors, VW, all the main brands that we know don't make up as much market value as Tesla. So is Tesla really a car company? Is that what really differentiates them? Is it the batteries that they produce? Is it the frame of the car that they produce? Not really. What really differentiates and the big value that Tesla has to offer is the software that they use to run their cars, the software that they use to connect their cars together, and the software that they will use to connect it all to a cloud. And what is the basis? What is the key metrics or key elements of that software? It's data. The amount of data points that each car, Tesla car, collects is enormous. And they all talk to each other, so they're all connecting even more and more data. And that's really the big value of Tesla, which allows it to provide a better self-driving car experience eventually. And they're already doing that. It allows it to provide a better user experience, so many different elements. But you could see that Tesla is really, I would say, a data company more than an actual car company. And that's why it has such a large valuation. So next slide, we're going to talk about something that The Economist published in 2017. 2017, The Economist published a headline called And it said, the world's most valuable resource is not oil, but data. And that was 2017. Fast forward to where we are today, with the COVID pushing digitization on a whole new level, data is key. And moving forward, it's going to become more and more important as everyone's connected. Every devices are connected using 5G as well. Many billions of devices are going to be connected, all providing different kinds of data points. So data is really the key resource, the most valuable resource that everyone will have. And going back to your businesses, what are you doing with your data? How are you monetizing your data? How are you creating value from your data? My former boss, when I used to work in the IT space, Carly Fiorina, used to be the head of HP and Compaq at the time, and digital. At the time, it was the biggest company. She said the goal is to turn data into information and information into insight. So this is the other big challenge that a lot of companies have. A lot of companies are collecting a lot of data, but they're not able to really take that data, turn it into valuable information, turn it into valuable insight. And that's where we hope, through the different approaches we're going to tackle today, approaching this from a marketing angle, approaching it from an AI angle, approaching it from a finance angle, will give you the different ways in which you can monetize and move this data from information into insight. So next, for those that haven't registered yet, please do register on potential.com/SME. This program, or this webinar series, is part of the bigger program called the SME Empowerment Program. By registering for free, you get access to free learning, and this is all self-paced learning, as well as the webinars we have, like the ones today. You get access to special offers that we've curated for you with international partners, and you get access to experts that you can tap into when you want to ask any question. If you've missed any of the webinars, this is the 10th episode today. And if you've missed any, you could easily go back on the potential.com/SME and watch any of the recordings covering different topics that will help you in digitizing your business, which is the key theme of this free development program that we've put together. We've got a lot of data ourselves that we're collecting from the engagement of various users. And next week, we're going to be sharing with you some of the insights from all of the attendees of the SME program so far. And we've got some really great insights in terms of what are the things that the entrepreneurs are asking for in terms of support, in terms of needs. We'll also give you some data and insights for you to benchmark what you're doing in your business compared to other businesses in general. Of course, we value all of your data privacy issues. So any kind of data that we allocate is anonymous. And as you could see in these kind of reports, it's just holistic data that we're capturing that we'd like to share with stakeholders like governments and other international bodies like the World Bank and United Nations, etc., so that we share with them your feedback about where do you need the most support, where do you need the most, where do you see the most opportunities, where do you see the most challenges. So next week, stay tuned. We're going to share with you a report that goes into a little bit more details on feedback we've received from the entrepreneurs joining our various program elements across the past 2 months. And we look forward to sharing that with you. Without further ado, we're going to move on now to the next section. Tips, tools, and resources with our very own Rawzaba Al-Halabi. Rawzaba, over to you.
Thank you, Shadi. So, according to Google, 89% of leading marketeers use strategic metrics to measure the effectiveness of their campaigns. One of the main advantages that differentiates the digital marketing from traditional marketing is that it's measurable. You can track all the marketing metrics to see if your campaign is successful or no. As a definition, marketing metrics are measurable values to demonstrate the effectiveness of campaigns across all marketing channels. Whether you're looking to track what users are doing on your website or tracking a Facebook or any social media ad, you should watch some key metrics that drives your decisions. Let's watch this video, which is part of the digital marketing course that's available for free to the SME Empowerment Program users on the platform. So whoever registers, please go ahead and take the digital marketing course. This video is part of it. The key marketing metrics that actually matters. I guess we're not hearing the voice. I'll share it from my side.
I'm sharing.
So again, we're hearing it now. Good.
It's important to continually learn about and improve your marketing initiatives. But before we can...
There is a small lag between the voice and the sound because of the Zoom.
Okay, we could basically put the link for the video for everyone to see. But this is a very important video included in the digital marketing course on the platform. Maybe Razab, if you can just share with us, do you have access to the dashboard on the user dashboard on the SME platform to show the course? And
yes,
when it comes to marketing, these metrics are really critical these days. There's so much that you can do with digital marketing and how you track it.
We need to determine what percentage of them actually did what we wanted them to do in the first place. If your goal is a white paper download and you had 1,000 visitors to that page.
All right, apologies for the technical glitches. But basically, the video talks about different kinds of metrics you can track from a marketing perspective. It's very valuable. And today, one of the biggest challenges on marketing in terms of, there's a lot of data you can collect from engaging with any kind of marketing campaign. But how do you translate those data points into really valuable marketing informations? And I could give you a quick summary of what I see as the two most important metrics in marketing that you can get access to. One is CAC, which you'll see in that video, customer acquisition cost. And two is LTV, lifetime value of a customer. So how much would it cost you to acquire a customer to your business? And then how much can you actually monetize from that customer over their lifetime that they're engaging with you? And those two metrics are really very critical when it comes to any kind of digital marketing campaign. So Rozaba is sharing with you now the dashboard on the actual SME platform, which you have access to. As we said in the beginning, you could join for free. And this is the digital marketing course that we're talking about. And you could see there are different topics here. It's a very nice course that you can go through. And what was the unit, Rozaba, that we were actually sharing?
It's unit 4, the 5 key marketing metrics that actually matters. We could try it if we need one more time, because it's a short video. Let's try it one more time, and if there is a glitch, then we'll ask the users to register or log in. If they already registered, then go ahead and watch this video and other digital marketing videos in this course.
No, the video sound is not coming up still. So it's all right. At least, like we said, everyone has access to this video and the whole course for free by going to potential.com/SME or /, I forget, it's actually /. And you can go over here. For those that are attending with us on the live webinar, we'll share the link to the video on the webinar. But for anyone who's watching the live stream, if you just go to potential.com/ or /SME, and then you can go into your user dashboard and into the digital marketing course. Great. So anything else, Razaba, would want to talk about?
No, that's it from my side. That's it from my side. Sorry for the Zoom thingy, because there is a glitch in playing the videos and the sound. It's technology. We should get used to it.
Yeah, it's
So
all
back
right.
to you,
It
Shadi.
happens.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So now over to our next section, next segment of the program of this episode. I'd like to welcome today Dr. Amjad Zaim. Dr. Amjad is an AI entrepreneur and researcher with over 20 plus years of international experience. He co-founded Cognitro, a firm dedicated to advancing the field of machine learning and AI with offices in the US, Egypt, and the UAE. Dr. Amjad brings a really unique kind of experience when it comes to addressing the topic of AI and data from a professor, research and development perspective, and also from an entrepreneurial perspective, which is very hard usually to find that blend. And we're very delighted to have Dr. Amjad with us today. So Dr. Amjad, good to have you with us.
Glad to be here, Shadi. Thank you for having me.
Great. So we would love to, there's so much to talk about, especially given your diverse experience. So I'm telling you from now, we'd love to have you on upcoming sessions as well. But let's start to dabble onto this topic because we've been hearing a lot from the businesses that have been attending with us about their interest to get into this space. However, a lot of entrepreneurs think that maybe AI, data analysis, data science, machine learning, these kind of topics maybe are only for big businesses. And, maybe they don't have the resources. It's too expensive for them to do it. It's too hard for them to understand what they need to do. So what are your thoughts on that? What are the, is it only for big business or can it also apply for small businesses?
Shadi, 20, maybe 10, 15, or 20 years ago, this was the case. Data was not abundant. We didn't have open data sources. We didn't have Kaggle. We didn't have government organizations and research institutions that are putting out their data for research purposes and inviting researchers from different parts of the world to really mine those data and bring them to meaningful insights. The dynamics have changed dramatically. We're seeing more smaller companies that are doing big things with big data. You take all the major unicorn AI firms that are coming up. They're valued at billions of dollars, millions and billions of dollars, just because they're able to harness and capitalize on data. Particularly more relevant to our the age of COVID-19. A lot of healthcare research firms are reaching out and mining healthcare image data to create solutions, vaccines. We've seen the Pfizer BioNTech, classical example of how a small company was able to ramp up its activities, reach out, pulled all the data that they could have in order to come up with a vaccine that solved one of the biggest problems in history.
So what would be some practical tips or way, what could be a way forward for someone, a startup or a small medium business that is dabbling into this area? How would they go about doing it? Where would they start? What would be some practical tips that you can provide them?
So two things, Shadi. I think if you said something earlier which kind of resonated very well, and that is, how do you get to insights? How do you go from data to information to insights? And what is the last thing that I think the last step that people get stuck in? How do you convert now that insight into wisdom? And unfortunately, most companies, whether they're startup, depending on their business and professional maturity, they view wisdom as a conventional version of it, right? things are changing dynamically. And so conventional wisdom needs to be tested, validated, and bombarded with falsifications in order to build a new maturity within the organization, whether it's in small or large companies. I would say that for small companies, it presents, entrepreneurs, it presents an invaluable source of resources that allows them to compete with the big ones. We've seen classical examples with smaller companies that are using, like I said, big data. One of the healthcare companies I mentioned in Canada, in fact, there was a marathon that was posted by Kaggle to predict the utilization of, to predict the occurrence of a certain disease, genetic disease. The winners of this competition was actually a firm that is made up of 3 people in Canada, even though IBM, all the big guys, IBM, Panasonic have participated in this. And ultimately they found venture capitalists and they were able to, to break out into the big business corporate world.
Yes, and I know there's a lot of interest from the VC world in this space. So anyone who is, getting into the AI space will get at least an easy foot in the door when it comes to talking to any VCs.
There's a big reward. Shadi, there's a huge reward for entrepreneurs, to actually gain competitive edge in such a short amount of time and to learn better than the big guys.
Dr. Amjad, again, we'd love to have you on other sessions to talk more, but I wanted to particularly hear from you. I know that you were working on this project in the healthcare space as well yourself, where you identified fatigue through facial recognition. I'm not sure if it's confidential or not, but if it's not, can you tell us a bit more about?
Yeah, it's not. So it's
very intriguing. So I'd love to hear from you, and everyone to hear from you about that project.
So what we have done, Shadi, is that we, again, realizing the immense value of clinical research, we wanted to go about developing a model that will detect, that will predict, not detect, but predict the onset of fatigue and tired and sleepy patterns with drivers. So we partnered with St. Vincent Medical Hospital in the US, and they were starting to run and video record a number of subjects, almost more than 50,000 hours of fatigue, of videos of fatigue people that are undergoing, different alteration in the facial parameters. And so we thought we would do something differently. We wanted to, again, if you look at the, we looked at the car models, the luxury car models, what they have, this feature. You probably need to know that what they do is strictly detection, which means as soon as you close your eyes or you show sign of yawns, it will basically flag you with it will turn on a coffee light icon and ask you to pull over to get some coffee or rest. The one that we have done differently is to predict when someone's falling asleep, not to detect. By pulling all these parameters and looking when someone is really approaching it's called the KSS scale. So it's a clinical scale that we have got from researchers. And we were able to predict when that KSS metric is going to go up by training the model to know what are the major signs that happen before you actually get to sleep. So that, for us, that was very fulfilling. And we're now in talk with a couple of organizations and fleet management companies to actually deploy this model on their vehicles.
Very interesting. So again, we'd love to have you with us on future sessions to understand a bit more about how to make this happen. And if a entrepreneur wants to sort of get onboarded in this process, what would be your advice, suggestions? So thanks a lot for joining us today. We hope to have you soon with us again, and good luck with all of the work, especially this very important work around driver fatigue, making sure people get move around safely and don't cause any harm to anyone else. Thanks a
Thank
lot
you,
for
Shad.
joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Bye.
Great. So now over to Umayma for the Newsworthy and Did You Know section.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Umayma, joining you from Bahrain. As you know by now, I'm your host of the Did You Know and Newsworthy segments of the Entrepreneur Empowerment Series. We use these segments to share useful insights and news that we hope will help you spot opportunities for your business. Today, our focus is on how to use data to grow your business. Let's start off with a quick question. Did you know that there are many great resources that you can tap into for open data? I'll be sharing a couple of this in a bit, but first, what exactly is open data? Open data is the kind of data that is open for anyone and everyone for access, modification, reuse, and sharing. Governments, independent organizations, and agencies have come forward to open the floodgates of data to create more and more open data for free and easy access. But why is it important? Open data is important because the world has grown increasingly data-driven. But if there are restrictions on the access and use of data, the idea of data-driven business and governance will not be materialized. Open data can streamline the processes and systems that the society and governments have built, and it can help transform the ways we understand and engage with the world. And now, as promised, here are some of the best open data resources. Number 1, World Bank Open Data. The World Bank Open Data is a vital source of open data. It provides access to other data sets as well. The World Bank Open Data is massive because it has got 3,000 data sets and 14,000 indicators encompassing microdata, time series statistics, and geospatial data. You can even get access to the API, which can help you create the data visualizations you need, live combinations with other data sources, and many more such features. Number 2, Google Public Data Explorer. Launched in 2010, Google Public Data Explorer can help you explore vast amounts of public interest datasets. You can visualize and communicate the data for your respective uses. Different stakeholders access this data for a variety of purposes. So whether you're a student or a journalist, whether you're a policymaker or an academic, you can leverage this tool in order to create visualizations of public data. Number 3, Registry of Open Data on AWS, RODA. In RODA, you can use keywords and tags for common types of data, such as genomic, satellite imagery, and transportation, in order to search whatever data it is that you're looking for. All of this is possible on a simple web interface. By making use of a broad range of compute and data analytics products, you can analyze the open data and build whatever services you want. Many countries are now publishing their open data, and it can be a great way for you to use to develop your next products or train your AI. Next, here's a few of the top 20 big data statistics according to Sigma. By 2030, the big data industry will be worth an estimated $77 billion, which is roughly 70% of Bill Gates' net worth. Big data is now utilized by every industry, but the media and entertainment sector takes the prize for predictive analytics. By analyzing their 100 million subscribers, Netflix was able to influence 80% of content viewed by subscribers due to accurate data insights. The banking sector generates unparalleled quantities of data. The amount of data generated each second in the financial industry will grow 700% in 2021. Unstructured and semi-structured data now make up an estimated 80% of data collected by enterprises, and this stems from the rise of mobile devices, applications, wearables, and the Internet of Things, IoT. However, only 26% of companies say that they have achieved a data-driven culture, leaving the other 73% of companies in the dust. Now, going back to that last statement about how a large number of companies, 73%, have still not embraced a data-driven culture, here's why it's important to do so. For business leaders, decision-making is critical, often involving thousands of people or millions of dollars, or even in times of stress or crisis, is data. This has already been true for years, with data management and analysis becoming central to general operations, improvement in growth, and identifying variables involved in building your strategy for the future. But it's going to be especially important for you to take information seriously in 2021 and the coming years. As customers gain more and more options about where to place their money, becoming more customer-centric through data should be a top priority. With surveys, demographic information, online reviews, and other touchpoints, you can figure out how to serve your buyers in incredibly specific ways and predict what they will want. This will also make it easier to hone your marketing messages for greater effectiveness across different groups. Jeff Bezos stands as a great example for this point. The leader of Amazon believes that identifying customer needs lets you work towards something that doesn't even exist right now, enabling you to actually invent the future. This becomes all the more important when you consider your business values and ethics. What you do with customer data influences building not only a business, but also a specific vision of society and the larger world. Companies of different sizes use big data. Large organizations with 5,000 plus employees are the main adopters of big data, with 70% of such businesses and institutions reporting that they already use big data. 43 to 45% of small and medium-sized organizations, fewer than 5,000 employees, already use big data, and all the segments are similarly open to future use. The telecommunications industry is an absolute leader in terms of big data adoption, with 87% of telecom companies already benefiting from big data, while the remaining 13% say that they may use big data in the future. Almost 60% of healthcare organizations already use big data, and nearly all the remaining ones are open to adopting big data initiatives in the future. 76% of financial services institutions are currently using big data for customer analytics to personalize their offers, as well as for risk assessment, fraud detection, and security threat detection. In education, however, the rate of big data adoption so far is the lowest, with only 25% when compared with all of the aforementioned industries. But the good thing is that 67% don't rule big data out as a future possibility. I think we're good for today. I hope we shared some great and useful insights and possibly have encouraged you and your company to become more data-driven. Also, don't
Thank you very much, Umayma.
stay for another interesting Did You Know and Newsworthy segment. Thank you.
Thanks, Umayma, for that valuable insights and information. Over next to our entrepreneurs, connecting with entrepreneurs section, to have Ziad Banna to take us through his views on data from a financial perspective. Ziad, over to you.
Hi, Shadi. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Indeed, interesting topic, everyone. It touches all aspects of company sizes, stages in their growth. Data is an integral part of every business's journey. About different aspects of data, 3 channels, if you like, or 3 categories. I hope my slides are visible now.
Yep, we can see them.
Great. So going back to the topic, which is using data to grow your business. And I would also emphasize on what Shadi mentioned in the introduction about using this data and turning it into information. And in the course of this presentation, we're going to touch on how you can do that. So quickly on the agenda, it's the 3 streams of data and its sources. How do we deploy this data inside our organizations? And focus on internal financial data. This is where we come in as SME financials, providing ERP systems for SMEs. Data, from financial data in specific, is where we can help in that area. But nonetheless, to put it in context, it is a part of the overall data ecosystem, if you like, and that's where the three layers or 3 dimensions to data. So the way we looked at it is that 3 dimensions. First, for every organization to be successful, also needs to be relevant to what's happening in the industry or on the global stage that may or may affect them in the near or far future. You can't work in silos, or you can't work on an island as a business. You are part of this global, more and more, we are becoming an integral part of the global economy as a whole. Now, second layer under the global, and to talk a little bit about the sources. So we mentioned here on the right side, the industry and global data. Where does it come from? So macroeconomics usually, and the news, the trends that's happening globally is a good source for us to keep tab on what's going around that may affect us in the future. Second layer, if we go a little bit zoning in on a smaller scale, let's say you focus more on the ecosystem, about your customers, your partners, perhaps your competitors as well, and see what they are also doing. So there's a lot of data also in that level, and this data has to be also collected and listened to, let's say. So you have these two channels already, or 2 streams of data, which are, yes, we are talking about it as different streams of data, but in reality, these different streams tend to overlap a little bit, because what your customers and partners or competitors are doing is more or less affected by what the industry and the global trends ongoing. The same thing applies to the third layer or third stream of data, which is an internal data. It's about your own organization and what data you are collecting about your own performance, whether financially or operationally. So also this one overlaps with your customers, because you are affected by your customers, and your customers are affected by your roadmap, your data, what you're doing, your performance. So how do we use this data? How do we turn it into information, as mentioned earlier? And that is probably the $1 million question or more, because Shadi was only mainly talking about billions. So $1 million question is not that important anymore. So to put it in perspective, you need to really relate data together as well, whether you're talking at the global trend level, then on the ecosystem customer level, you also have to make it relevant to what you are doing. What's your objectives? What's your vision, your mission, and also what your capabilities are. So if you take this data and what's relevant, and then analyze the data with the help of your team, your experts, your consultants, whoever you are working with, and then make sense of this data by blending it or putting it inside your strategy, inside your, what is it that you want to get out of this data? You're based on your vision, mission, by the risks and rewards that come along with these different paths that you could take, or you could translate this data into. And then also to be relevant and realistic and pragmatic, you need to look at the available resources that you have and how you can utilize it into affecting your strategy or influencing your strategy. Because at the end of the day, the strategy is a outcome or output of all the analysis done on this data. So that's where you see all these 3 streams coming into play into your strategy and mission, vision, risk, reward, and available resources. Where do we come in? Again, about what type of data? The third layer, which we discussed, is the internal data. This is where we come in, whether us or others, in terms of the ERP systems, which does provide financial data internally about your operation. But nonetheless, the other different the two other streams of data that you can get about marketing performance and operational performance, it has been touched upon earlier also about analyzing and the training that is available on potential platform on the SME empowerment platform about marketing KPIs. And that's where also it comes into play, how you're doing and how is the community or industry in general reacting to what you're doing. Operational performance data is about how efficient you are, how successful this product compared to the other different KPIs also measured. But then I want to focus a little bit on financial data. This is where we are going to say why it is important, because it has multi-dimensions also in terms of the usage of this financial data. Financial data comes from monitoring your transactions, finding out how you're doing and comparing income versus cost, for instance, cash flow, and other financial indicators, which we'll touch on briefly due to time constraints. So an example of financial data is the balance sheet, cash flow, profit and loss, of course, which you need to know whether at the end of the fiscal year or during certain intervals, quarterly maybe, or monthly. These days, the data can be made available on these intervals. Cost analysis in terms of your fixed cost versus your variable cost. Everyone wants to make their cost as much into the variable side so that you are more agile towards fluctuations in the markets. And then receivables analysis. This is an important aspect actually, which is very important for SMEs, because it can have a severe impact on your cash flow. Meaning if you are doing really well, but you're not collecting your revenue and your receivables are growing out of control, then you might be in trouble, even though you're making financial profit. So this is another angle where people sometimes tend to turn a blind eye because of the reward of getting a new business on the cost of expanding their receivables. So this is a tricky part for SMEs, and they should keep a close eye on that angle in particular. So again, other dimensions where financial data is really important, it's when you are talking to investors. So investors will really look at numbers. They need to know how you have been performing up to now and what's your projections and forecast for the future. That's when they can only when they can put funds and invest in your organization if they have clarity about your financial position. And these reports will all paint that picture that can be interpreted, if you like, as an international language where everybody understands. Regardless of what business you are in, when you put your financial reporting out there, it's an international language. Credit facilities other than investors, banks also. The minute you talk to a bank, you want a loan or some credit facilities, opening a letter of credit or what have you, they need to see your financials. They need to know how you're doing, how much you are exposed, etc., etc. And these reports we just mentioned are the real answer to all these questions. Risk assessments also based, like we mentioned about receivables. That's one area where an auditor would look to see how risky is your business, or collecting these debts also might be depending on the age of these receivables. Company valuation also, how are you valuating your assets, your intellectual property, your non-tangible assets and liabilities, how long, long-term, short-term, what's the interest? So all these KPIs or financial KPIs, to be specific, then help in evaluating your company. And some people do a lot of SMEs do actually underestimate the valuation of their companies, because everything added to the company in terms of time, effort, intellectual property has to be evaluated, has to be accounted for. Sometimes you buy additional equipment or assets, it's not expenses. Some people might think these are expenses. These are assets that are increasing the value of your company. Cash flow, again, it's a simple formula about the cash in, cash out. And what is, in my opinion, what is important about cash flow is the forecast bit. The cash flow that happened already, or the current cash flow, is easy to calculate. But the forecast is the most difficult, and that's where actually the magic happens, is that I can forecast in the next 6 to 9 months based on the current trend or what's happening on what payments are coming, revenue or expenses. I can forecast whether I will have shortage of cash in the future or not, and that's where the value of it. So this is in a nutshell as a summary. I probably have one more slide to remind everybody of the offer we have on the SME platform, which is under the financials. SME financials. You can find it with a discounted discount coupon, which is a reduced price to $400 after applying the program discount. Original value is $1,200 for a license with 1 year setup. On the program, you will get it for $400 only. That's it for me, Shadi. Thank you, and thanks for everyone. And if any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you, Ziad. Appreciate that insight and look forward to do some deep dives with you on various elements of those financial data points that we've highlighted. So we're actually gone a bit over time this time, but it was really a wide view of data and the importance of data. So thanks for everyone that joined us on the webinar and on the live streams. Stay tuned. If you've got any questions, send them to us, since we won't have much time today to go into a lot of them, but you could send to us on smeep@potential.com on the email, or connect to us on various social media channels. Feel free to share with us any feedback that you have, any requests for topics that you'd like us to cover in upcoming webinars. And hope you have a great day ahead, great week ahead, and thank you very much for joining us for today. Take care, everyone, and look forward to see you again and connect next week.